Hi everyone, and welcome to the continuation of Manomet's U360 Capstone competition. My name is Chris Boudreau. I'm Manomet's Donor Relations Manager. Thank you so much for joining us for this special event. If you're new to Manomet, we are a science-driven sustainability nonprofit. Since our beginnings in 1969, our programs have branched out far beyond our Plymouth, Massachusetts-based banding operation. With shorebird recovery and habitat management, forestry and climate science, fisheries, and more, Manomet has its foundation in science and works with many global partners to create a thriving future for us and for birds. In just a moment, I'm going to turn things over to Laura Babb, who manages the U360 program, but I did want to mention just a couple of quick things before we begin. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, you should see a box marked chat. If you don't see it, just use your mouse pointer to hover over the bottom and it should appear. At the conclusion of each of the students' presentations, you're welcome to use this chat box to cheer on the student or to leave words of encouragement. And also, after the final student has presented and the judges leave for deliberations, you're welcome to stick around to chat with the students or ask any questions that you might have. Finally, if you're unable to stay for the entirety of today's presentation, we are recording it and we'll share with you in a follow-up email a link where you can watch it or share it with others. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Now I'd like to turn it over to Laura Babb, U360's Program Manager.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you all for joining us today for our U360 Virtual Capstone Competition, Day 2. As the Program Manager for U360, I've had the pleasure of spending the last 10 months working with the exceptional college students you'll meet over these 3 days. But before I introduce today's presenters to you and we start hearing their perspectives on sustainability, I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you more about U360 and exactly what they've done with us at Manomet this year. At Manomet, we believe that to solve the complex environmental, social, and economic challenges we face, the next generation must be actively engaged and trained to make our world more sustainable. They are the largest generation in history, and known as the climate change generation, they will be disproportionately impacted by today's global challenges. One primary way college students can be part of the solution is through their future careers and workplaces. And students from all disciplines, not just environmental majors, must be prepared to tackle today's urgent sustainability issues. We need increased participation from young people with diverse backgrounds who have the ability to create sustainability solutions that they can bring to any job or industry. However, college students often lack the real-world understanding of practical sustainability, as well as the soft skills employers most seek and are needed to be effective change makers. They need to know how to work with people who think differently from them and how to create practical solutions. And they must possess the professional and interpersonal skills necessary to engage others in problem solving. And these things cannot be learned through coursework alone. As such, U360 is designed to give college students experience in 3 areas that are vital to solving today's complex sustainability challenges and that are not taught in the classroom. The first is career skills, specifically the ones employers most seek, like professionalism, teamwork, communication skills, creative problem solving, strategic thinking, and a strong work ethic. The second is an understanding of practical applied sustainability, business sustainability. Students leave U360 equipped with an extensive real-world understanding of both business management and how sustainability practices can help a company make money, save money, and reduce risks, in addition to being good for the planet and society. And the third is the ability to work with people who think differently from them. Solving complex challenges like climate change requires bringing people to the table with different viewpoints, knowledge, and experience. And U360 teaches college students how to do just that. U360 is a 2-semester experiential education and professional development program. The curriculum begins with 6 weeks of educational workshops and skills trainings focused on business sustainability principles, professional communication, time and project management, interview skills, and professional ethics. For the next 20 weeks, each student reaches out to approximately 200 small and medium-sized businesses of their choosing to request an interview about their current practices. Each student interviews up to 30 of those businesses and administers Manomet's Small Business Sustainability Assessment of their environmental, social, and governance practices. In the fall, they interview a variety of business types, and in the spring, each student chooses one industry to focus on. After every interview, the business's data are analyzed, and I follow up with the businesses to give them their sustainability scores and access to our online toolkit that they can use to improve their practices. And a significant percentage say it's likely they'll make changes to their practices as a result of that interview. The 6 million small businesses in the country have a large collective environmental footprint, but are often overlooked and underserved when it comes to sustainability efforts. With time, financial, and resource constraints, small businesses have many barriers that can make it challenging to prioritize sustainability. U360 gives them the opportunity to evaluate their overall sustainability, many for the first time, while gaining tools to help them increase the overall health of their business. And for the students, it's this direct engagement with business owners that provides them with the majority of their experiential education and professional development in U360. And then during the last month of the program, each student creates a sustainability action plan for one business that they interviewed with customized, highly researched, feasible recommendations for how the business could improve its sustainability practices. But more on that in a bit. Since piloting U360 in January of 2016, with just 3 students from the University of Southern Maine, the program has grown and expanded substantially. Over the past 4 years, 84 students have participated in the program from 14 universities in all 4 New England states. And these students have engaged 953 small businesses from all 50 states. We actually hit that 50 state milestone this year, which we were all very excited about. We're also very proud that U360 is helping to foster women business leaders, as 75% of the students who have participated in the program are female. This year, 14 students enrolled from 10 New England universities. Over the past 2 semesters, 228 small businesses from 42 states had conversations with our students about their current sustainability. The businesses ranged in size from 1 employee to 1,400 employees and represented countless different types and industries. Here is actually a word cloud of all the different types of businesses that students interview over the year, so you can see the wide variety. Again, the purpose of U360 is to train and prepare the next generation to tackle the complex sustainability challenges that will most impact their futures. As such, the program is focused entirely on giving college students the real-world experience and the personal and professional development they need to be effective change makers. Our U360 students learn firsthand how dozens of different small businesses operate, gain vital career skills and meaningful work experience, see how the principles they're learning in school are applied in the real world, and develop the tools necessary to create a more sustainable world. Most importantly, they learn how to have hard conversations with people who think differently from them, find common ground, and create feasible solutions that make the world a better place. But the students wouldn't be able to achieve the educational or professional development objectives of U360 without the generosity of business owners and other professionals who give their valuable time to the students, people like our esteemed guests today. Each day of competition will have a different panel of judges, composed of 2 business or sustainability professionals and 1 U360 finalist from a past competition. I'm pleased to introduce you all now to our panel of judges for today's competition. All right, there they are. So first, I would like to introduce Leah McLeod. Leah is a corporate social responsibility program manager at the company Unum here in Maine, but it's much bigger than just Maine. This is where she's based out of. Leah manages the company's nonprofit partnerships in Portland, Maine and Worcester, Mass. She's also responsible for corporate programs and communications work in Unum's home office sites of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Columbia, South Carolina, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and field offices throughout the United States. She joined Unum in March of 2015, and she began her career in public relations working on brand communication strategies for companies in the construction industry. Leah has a BS in marketing from the University of Southern Maine, right here in Portland, and she's a native of Orland, Maine, and today lives in Portland with her husband, son, and dog. Thanks, Leah. Welcome. It's so great to have you here. All right, and next we have Trisha Dinkle, the Northeast Program Manager for Clean Tech Open. Trisha comes from a background in energy management and environmental policy, and as the CTO Northeast Program Manager, Trisha supports early stage clean tech startups in launching their businesses through the rigorous accelerator program and business model competition. Before joining the Clean Tech Open team, Trisha worked as the Director of Data Analytics for WegoWise, an energy management SaaS company headquartered in Boston. She has also served as the Executive Chair for the Green Business Engagement National Network and on the University of Colorado Environmental Board and Sustainable CU Committee. Trisha holds an MA from the University of New Hampshire in Environmental Education and a BA from the University of Colorado in Environmental Policy. Welcome, Trisha. Thanks for being here today. And lastly, we have Max Hayes, who is our U360 finalist representative. He competed in the final competition last year and was our first runner-up in the final competition. Max is an energy analyst working as a contractor for the Energy Information Administration, focusing on utility scale electricity generating assets across the US and its territories. His passion for sustainability drew him to renewable energy data, and he just published his first article with the EIA, examining the growth of pairing batteries with utility scale renewable electricity generating assets. He graduated from Brandeis University last May with a degree in economics and minors in politics, anthropology, and environmental studies. He participated in the 2018-19 U360 class and was the runner-up at last year's final Capstone event. And in his own words, he wanted me to say he feels both terrified and honored to now be on the other side of the judges table. It's so great to have you back, Max. Thanks for being here. All right. Now, onto the competition. As I mentioned, each of these students will present their sustainability action plan for one business they interviewed this year. To maintain the confidentiality promised to the businesses, the students will not be specifying the business's name or exact location. They'll give biographical information about the business and then present recommendations to improve its long-term viability, all of which must be highly researched, practical, feasible, and most importantly, beneficial to the business's bottom line. They will also specify the 2 recommendations they see as the highest priorities for the business to implement. These students will demonstrate how strong triple bottom line practices can help a business thrive and prosper in a natural world and business landscape that are both rapidly changing, while also attracting, engaging, and retaining talent and customers in the process. Following each presentation, the judges will ask the student questions to challenge their thinking and defend their action plan. The students will be evaluated on their answers to those questions, their presentation skills, and on the quality of their recommendations. They will also be judged on the case they make for how their action plan will benefit the business and increase its resiliency to the external factors most threatening its long-term success. A reminder that even though the students can't see or hear all of you out there watching, you can still cheer them on and applaud them in this virtual space. If you feel so inspired, feel free to use the chat feature to share your support and accolades. But please wait to do so until after the student has finished their Q&A with the judges so as not to distract them with notifications popping up during their presentation. And if any of you in the audience would like to talk with the presenting students or myself after the event ends, please stick around after my closing remarks and we will enable your audio and video. At that time, the judges will go to a private Zoom space to select a winner who will be named Manomet's Next Generation Scholar for 2020, along with each student who wins on the other 2 days of competition. All 3 winners will be announced and celebrated at our virtual capstone reception this Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m., and they will each receive a $500 scholarship prize. In addition to announcing our winners, that evening we will also feature our Next Gen Scholar panel discussion with 5 of our past U360 winners who are all out of college now and will share their perspectives on the world today through their eyes. If you haven't yet registered to attend this special event on Thursday, there is a link being posted in the chat box where you can register. The Zoom link you used to join us today won't work for that event, so you'll need to register separately for the reception. And there it is. Thank you, Chris. Now, before I introduce the first student presenter, I want to say how impressive, passionate, and knowledgeable all of the students are that I had the privilege of working with this year. I'd like you all to take a second and think about yourself at their age and ask yourself, could you have ever called up business owners and interviewed them? And could you have done what they're about to do in front of you here today? The confidence and humility they've gained and the personal growth I've witnessed them experience is quite remarkable and incredibly inspiring. Additionally, this is our U360 class who had the last 2 months of college completely upended by the coronavirus. Because U360 has always been an entirely virtual program, our work together wasn't really disrupted. But as you can imagine, COVID-19 definitely impacted the last few weeks of their outreach and interviews with the small businesses. And the rest of their semester was deeply affected as all of their colleges closed and switched to online learning in mid-March. But the level of grace, maturity, understanding, and acceptance I saw in these students, particularly my seniors, as they face the countless unprecedented challenges that have come with this pandemic was truly amazing. So suffice it to say, I've never felt more confident that we'll all be in incredibly good hands as this generation starts to take the reins. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first student presenter today, Crystal Pitman. Crystal is a senior transfer student at the University of Maine, and she is studying ecology and environmental science. She's originally from Connecticut, and this spring, she focused on businesses related to disabilities. And after graduating, she wants to pursue a career in environmental policy and advocacy. When I asked Crystal why she applied for U360 originally, she said, I applied for the U360 internship because I was interested in business perspectives of sustainability. I wanted to know what challenges there are to sustainably running a company, and I was excited to work on my communication skills and contact many businesses. Today, Crystal will be presenting her action plan on a healthcare nonprofit in the Southwest.
Thank you, Laura. This nonprofit works with families of children birth through age 3 who have vision impairment, are blind, or deaf and blind. Started as a response to a lack of services in 2016, they have grown to be a leading nonprofit of early intervention services with 15 staff members. Their mission fulfills federal regulation, the Individuals with Disability Education Act, to provide early intervention in the least restrictive place. Staff work in the homes and communities throughout the region. At present, this nonprofit has no office space. Staff use private vehicles to commute. This nonprofit has many strengths. Among the most notable is a committed staff, community partnerships, and a high transparency rating. Community partners are so important to this nonprofit and the blind community they support. Through partnerships, problem solving enters collective capacity. Awarded a Gold Seal of Transparency in 2019 by the third-party organization GuideStar. GuideStar ranks nonprofits for truthful information found on their websites. This is a great opportunity for potential donors to see the Gold Seal. The greatest threat challenging the nonprofit is a lack or loss of funding. There are over 20,000 charitable nonprofits within the Southwest region, which include many other early intervention programs, many of which are in competition for funding. This funding threat is exacerbated due to the upheaval of the economy following the COVID-19 pandemic. The IDEA Act covers 30% of the budget, while foundations and individual giving accounts for 70% of the organization's funds. The Federal Individuals with Disability Act, or IDEA, mandates that students with disabilities are provided with free and appropriate education that is tailored to their needs. Section C of this act pertains to children birth through age 3 for early intervention. Each state receives IDEA funds based on an algorithm. Community centers boards throughout the region are tasked with assessing if children need early intervention. During the COVID-19 pandemic, this nonprofit continues to impact and encourage families through telehealth. Early learning teachers of the visually impaired are commuting from home to work to do their work with children. The primary energy is expended on the commute, and generally, miles are reimbursed by the state after staff fill out a mileage log, recording the numbers from their own odometer. While during the pandemic, families are helped through Zoom. There are some aspects of the job which need to be done in person. I recommend considering commuter benefits, providing Everlin's technology and gas cards to staff. These gestures will show staff appreciation. One commuter benefit could be an app for mileage reimbursement. Everlin's technology is rated #1 company mileage reimbursement app. It can be loaded on Apple and Android devices. It also digitalizes reports and expenses. This will make the logging more simple, opposed to pen and paper logging. Saving time and being convenient. Using the app for business or personal use is as easy as one swipe. Showing staff this gratitude may set the business apart and attract the most talented staff. Since Everlin's can be programmed to find the most optimal route, balancing both miles and wear of staff private vehicles, this will save the nonprofit money and at the same time lessen the energy footprint of miles tallied by finding the most efficient route. Appreciating staff and taking the burden off logging miles will aid in retaining staff in the long run. Having a talent advantage over competitors for funding. According to the National Council of Nonprofits, less than 1/3 of nonprofits have more than 1 month reserves. Having savings is vital for nonprofits. It sets the nonprofit apart amongst nonprofits by cushioning unexpected expenses. At present, the nonprofit is using PayPal to accept donations. There is also an option for credit card use. PayPal compared to DonorBox is potentially limiting donations because it is less inclusive to different methods of payment. I recommend switching donation platforms to DonorBox. DonorBox is competitive with PayPal. In fact, DonorBox uses PayPal as one of its processors. Aside from PayPal, DonorBox accepts ACH bank transfers, which makes a difference for the donation amount as the fees can be more expensive than credit card. Another reason DonorBox outperforms PayPal is the ability to customize donation forms. You can't do that with PayPal. Also, unlike PayPal, which accepts only one-time donation, DonorBox fundraising platform can accept weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annual recurring donations. These features allow you to know more about your donors, making it easier to retain donor support. Financial approach is even more important to consider for a nonprofit because of nonprofit compliance laws. These laws are put in place to protect public interest, ensuring that there is no fraud going on with public funds. There is a higher standard for nonprofits to ensure trust since they have access to public funds. Nonprofits may expect to be audited and the board to be held responsible. At present, there is only one person handling the everyday finances for the nonprofit. I recommend implementing internal controls such as segregating duties policy so that one person in charge of the books is not the same person in charge of the account. Information technology controls will deter any schemes to make up clients. Implementing additional people to ensure no fraud is taking place within the organization. These internal controls will benefit the nonprofit by reducing risk. Having staff feel valued can help in attracting and retaining the most talented people. When working with children that have special needs, a knowledgeable staff makes the biggest difference. Having them get together increases the opportunity to network with one another. Camaraderie and a sense of community is important when considering staff well-being. At present, there is no plan for all staff to convene. However, affordable locations are not unique, especially when considering what you can do virtually. I recommend that on or around Teacher Appreciation Week each year, staff are honored in some way, such as a company picnic, potluck, or other event. Appreciating staff increases employee retention, which makes the business stand strong against adversity. Establishing a get-together for all staff to attend will spark partnerships. Valuing staff is an important consideration because it protects the longevity of employment by reinforcing loyalty. Studies suggest annual reviews help to increase job performance. At present, only a small % of staff have participated in an annual review. These can be helpful for both staff and employer. As both parties are giving an opportunity to express their struggles and success, I recommend increasing annual reviews to 100% of employees. This would be helpful for employees to continue to strive toward goals and create new ones. This can be done easily through telecommuting, which will add convenience to busy days of travel. The donor box platform change should be prioritized because its potential to provide more donations and that should be capitalized on. The second priority should be preparing a get-together for the purpose of networking with each other and honoring staff. 70% of businesses private, donor, or foundation funded, leaving competition for funds more real in post-COVID times. These strategies aim to buffer the tide of challenges ahead by strengthening the nonprofit business to make it more toothsome when compared to others in competition for the same funding pockets. Thank you.
Can I go ahead and start asking questions?
Yeah, start it off.
All right, cool. Great job, Crystal.
Thank you.
So one thing I really liked about your presentation is that I work with nonprofits all the time in my role, and a lot of health nonprofits kind of are structured the same way, and it seems like there are a lot of best practices that you've identified that a lot of other nonprofits with sort of a similar makeup could use. So I think that's really excellent that they could share that potentially with others in their community and same space that they work in. So based on your knowledge of the business and your interactions with the executive director, do you think that they have the staff that they need to do two of the things that you're proposing? One, to kind of increase annual reviews. Do they have I know that people in nonprofits are often wearing many hats and working with a very tight budget, and so they're sort of jumping around to try to make it all work. So do you think they have the skills and the people they need to increase those annual reviews, and also the skills and people they need to be able to separate those finance duties?
Yes, I think that they do have, for sure, the ability to hold annual review. They could even do it through Zoom. I mean, I think it would benefit them, and it's only like once a year. So definitely for that. As far as the segregating duties, they may want to hire someone specifically for that, especially if they also do the Everlance technology and start implementing that as well. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Do they have a board of directors who could potentially help with the finance piece of that?
They do have a board, but as far as the everyday, weekly, they just have that one person who does the budget and
Got it. Thank you so much. That's
Must
all
be
I have.
tiring.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hi, Crystal. I want to echo, I really enjoyed your presentation. I thought it was very insightful. And it's clear that you took great interest in this project and in this company or this organization. So one of the questions I had, and it's kind of going off of Leah's question a little bit, is if you explored the impact that staff turnover has on the organization itself, and how, if at all, that would play into your decision to prioritize, the feeling of culture and improving staff culture and staff and retaining staff for a longer period of time.
Well, the company is really fresh. I mean, it opened in 2016, and they haven't had a lot of turnover. So I think it was more about honoring the staff that they have, to retain that staff, to, keep what they have as far as talent goes.
Yeah, and I guess to piggyback off of that, so is there a lot of training that goes into this, an investment that goes into the current staff that would further, support that recommendation?
Yeah, they work a lot with community partnerships, and I know they seek out college interns, and they're able to get experience that they need to be teachers of the visually impaired through them. And so, I mean, I think that the need for honoring the staff and having a get-together, an annual teacher appreciation type thing, was more because the staff does so much.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I guess I just have one question for you, Crystal, and I also wanted to say great presentation. So I was just curious about your prioritized recommendation. So I definitely understand how DonorBox directly addresses your major threat of competition. I think that's a great recommendation and something I hadn't thought of when you started speaking. And then my my question is, why would you focus on staff appreciation over something like internal checks and balances, which seems a little more important for a small company looking to grow? And if it seemed like you touched on it a little with Trisha about just how important the staff is, but I was wondering if you could just elaborate on why you picked that one specifically.
Okay, it's because they don't offer a benefits package. And I didn't put that as one of my goals, is because they're already campaigning for finances to do that. And so the donor box to get more finances was the most important in my mind, get them the finances to get the campaign going for benefits and everything.
Gotcha, thank you. And then so staff appreciation you saw was more important than checks and balances, even though it would cost money for this nonprofit?
I honestly went back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a tough one. I see why it was a hard decision to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that was the last question, Laura.
Okay, so our next student presenter will be Emily Hotham. Emily is a senior, well, was a senior. She just graduated in May from the University of Southern Maine with a degree in environmental science. She's originally from New Gloucester, Maine, and this spring she focused on businesses related to the home. So looking at construction companies, landscaping, interior, things like that. And it won't be surprising probably to hear that after graduating now, she's looking to pursue a career in alternative energy or green building design. And when I asked Emily why she applied for U360, she said, quote, "The main reason I applied to U360 was to develop skills and strengths that were not taught in the classroom, that I knew could help set me apart as I continued on into the professional world after graduating. And as an individual, I am very aware of my strengths and weaknesses and understood that this program would help me work on both the personal and professional weaknesses I had, specifically in the areas of communication and confidence. And today, Emily will be presenting her action plan on a landscaping company in the Midwest.
Thank you, Laura. Established in 2003, this business has been in service for 17 years. They currently require around 50 employees to operate all aspects of their company efficiently. It is a seasonal business that operates from May through October, and they offer a full range of commercial and residential landscaping services, as well as a retail garden center that sells tools, seeds, and nursery plants. During their season, they offer Tuesday talks every week to get the community involved and engaging with their business. They also pride themselves on being leaders in the industry when it comes to water-saving equipment and techniques. They consistently practice methods such as xeriscaping, which is a landscaping philosophy that uses as many native, drought-resistant plants as possible and arranges them in an efficient, water-conserving way. They also offer a wide range of services, including both residential and commercial landscaping, as well as a retail garden center. They offer special programs such as follow-up visits with clients and a continuing maintenance program to further ensure satisfaction and try to maintain a high retention rate with their clients. The big picture threat facing this business is competition both for employees and for customers. Although they are located in a rural area, they are only 35 minutes outside of a large city where 54 other landscaping businesses with similar services can be found with a simple internet search. Additionally, 2 other cities are only an hour away, and within the small town that the business itself is located, 14 similar companies can be found. The location of this business, nestled between 3 large cities, all under an hour away, extends the radius in which their competition exists. Internal weaknesses, such as a lack of separation of duties, lack of benefits, and lack of voicing sustainability initiatives, are putting them at a disadvantage to these competitors. One key way to stand out against competition is employee benefits. Currently, no benefits are given to their employees other than paid time off, which is earned with the number of hours worked. While they do have some employees return season after season, it is less than half of their current staff, meaning that every year they have to go through the hiring process for nearly 25 employees. Hiring new every season puts them at great risk due to a lack of familiarity with clients, a lack of experience with the company, and a high cost due to training and the time it can take to fill a position. Offering their employees realistic benefits for a seasonal business, such as paid lunch breaks, massage gift cards, and/or a tool allowance, would provide the employees with an incentive to return year after year, helping to reduce risk and save the company money. Only one individual is handling this business's accounting and financial duties, which also puts them at great risk. Relying on one person to handle all of the accounting duties could lead to poor internal control, errors in finances, as well as a misappropriation of company assets. For these reasons, I recommend that this business implements a better checks and balance system when it comes to their finances. Diversifying the responsibilities and allowing more than one person to make decisions regarding this aspect of the business will help to reduce errors, maintain a budget and structure to help maximize opportunities, and reduce risk overall. Currently, this business is only communicating about their sustainability strengths once or twice a year. A lack of effective communication can lead to customer confusion, a lack of retention in clients, and poor product and service development over time. In order to highlight their sustainable advantages, it is necessary for people to be able to express themselves both internally and externally. Voicing their sustainable efforts is another recommendation that will help them draw in customers and gain a competitive advantage. If this communication was included as a routine step in their community outreach, it would increase the awareness of their sustainability strengths and highlight the aspects of their business that are unique compared to the other businesses in the area. While there's consistently weekly team meetings happening now, there's a lack of formal coaching within the business. This can lead to high turnover rates, an unsafe work environment, and unnecessary business expenses. A survey conducted by the International Coach Federation showed that 100% of the business participants reported improvements in team functioning, employee management, productivity, and leadership development after implementing formal performance reviews. This business could benefit from providing their employees with more formal coaching, which would give the employees clear long-term objectives, establish a deeper connection between management and the employees, as well as creating a sense of value for the staff. This business currently has an active presence on social media sites such as Facebook and Instagram, but lacks diversified consumer marketing techniques. The other businesses that pose a competitive threat have a much greater presence on websites such as the Better Business Bureau, Glassdoor, and Yelp, which may steer clients to choose another company over them. With an internet search for this type of work in the state, this business does not appear within the top search results, hindering their ability to compete. Establishing a wider range of marketing techniques will help this business reach a larger customer base and create an advantage over the other businesses who are only marketing to a specific audience. This could provide a variety of educational opportunities for consumers to learn the ins and outs of sustainable landscaping, as well as providing the opportunity for this business to identify their position as a leader in conservation practices. My number one recommendation is to offer their employees benefits. Having a high rate of first season employees year after year puts their company at great risk. Offering benefits would help to retain employees season after season and maintain consistent teams that the customers are familiar with. This change would help the business reduce risk and save money by limiting the number of new hires they need to train every year. I am also highly recommending that they voice their sustainability strengths more so than they are right now. This would increase the community awareness about their mission, increase the transparency of the business by giving the community the opportunity to gain insight and offer feedback, and additionally, provide the business with the chance to step up and reveal themselves as an industry leader when it comes to water conserving equipment and methods. Overall, the major external threat facing this business is competition for clients and employees. In order to gain an advantage over the similar businesses that exist within their region of the state, it is essential that they increase customer outreach in order to create loyalty between the business and their consumers, as well as increase the rate of employee retention year after year. Both of these goals will help this business reduce risk, save money, and make money, all creating an advantage over their competition. Thank you.
Great job, Emily. If it's cool, I'll kick off questions again.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if you did sort of competitive research with other around other businesses in this space to see if it's unusual for there to be that sort of employee turnover season to season, or if that's sort of typical with these kinds of businesses. Just wondering. It seems like that would be an important thing to do if they're going to make that investment in some of those benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mostly did further research into the 14 businesses that are in their town because that's their most
Sure.
heavy competition. 11 of the 14 are year-round and offer wintertime services as well. So they had a much higher retention rate with their employees just because it is a year-round business. And then the other 3 are seasonal and they offer paid time off just like this business, but they also offered other benefits as well. So I didn't have the specifics on how their employee retention was, but they already have the benefits for their employees.
Excellent. And then in terms of increasing their kind of raising the voice about their sustainability efforts, do you think that do they need to hire a marketing agency, or what kind of investment would be necessary there? Or do they have some sort of, do they have those in-house communication skills that they just sort of need to focus more on that?
Yeah, so I would say that it's more so that they just need to focus on voicing those strengths, because they do already have a really high level of engagement with the community. One way I think that they could do this was they do have a weekly thing called Tuesday Talks, but right now they're mostly just about like do-it-yourself garden projects where they're showing their customers how to do small projects on their own. And I think that would be a great place for them to implement a way that they could also bring up their sustainability strengths in different ways that people could do that. They do also have a very strong presence on Facebook and Instagram, but right now they're only posting about like inventory and things like that. And I also think they could use those platforms to, again, talk a little bit more about their sustainability strengths.
Awesome. Thanks. That's all for me.
Thank you.
Hi, Emily. Fantastic presentation. Really enjoyed it. So actually overlapping a little bit, Leah had a great question, and I echo it. So I'm glad and really appreciate your response or answer to that. Curious if you looked at the employee demographics and what the typical workforce looks like, and how that might have played into your decision to have employee benefits be a key part of your recommendation in order to retain or reduce, I guess, seasonal employee turnover.
Yeah, absolutely. So I looked into their demographics as much as I could. They do, when I was speaking with the business owner, what they currently do for their staffing is when they go out in a day, they have about 8 teams of 4 or 5 people. And the leaders of those teams are typically one of the employees that has been with the company longer. So they have a couple veteran staff that have been there year after year. But I think just by offering benefits such as the ones that I suggested could help to retain the newer employees that might just be looking for, a massage or like a paid lunch break or things like that.
Excellent. Thank you. And I think the other question that I had that came up and again, kind of overlapping a little bit with what Leah was asking, but in terms of the competition, how much do you feel, or based off of your research, that this would either help compete directly with the other 14 competitors in the region to really separate themselves on the environmental sustainability strategies that they've approached, and how much would that actually distinguish them and allow them to rise above their competition in that space?
Yeah, so the reason I actually chose them voicing their sustainability strengths was because in looking into the competition, on any of their other competitive websites, I didn't find anything about sustainable practices, whereas this business, the first thing when you go to their website is about how they are conserving so much water. So I think the fact that they could set an industry standard for landscaping companies, and if they were able to find an effective way to voice these things, I think it would really help set them apart.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Emily, great job. I'm going to ask you a slightly different question. So I think that your recommendations are all focused on the internal components of the company. And just since we weren't the ones who interviewed the owners, I was curious how you imagined all of your recommendations happening. Would you be thinking more to retrain those veteran staff, or hire and bring in new people, such as HR staff to do your performance reviews and to run the benefits, and then the coaching program? I was just curious if you imagined bringing new people in or retraining internally, and kind of what the cost was and your evaluation of doing something like that.
Yeah, so I found that for specifically for the expanding their marketing, they do already have specifically the people that work in the garden center. So it's not the landscapers, but that staff, those staff members are the ones that are in charge of their social media. So for example, expanding on the consumer marketing, I found that wouldn't be that much for another, for those employees to additionally do that work, as well as the checks and balances. I did look into those kind of stats about hiring an accountant, typically for a small business might range from $1,000 to $5,000 depending on the work you need. And they don't have a board of directors, which might also help with checks and balances and some of the other things. So if they were able to save money by retaining their employees, I think that hiring an accountant, while it's not as feasible as some of the other suggestions that I have, I think long term, it's definitely something that this business could do to help with those internal suggestions.
And then for your human resource recommendations of the performance reviews and the benefits, did you imagine the owner doing all of that, him or herself? Or did you also imagine kind of retraining or pulling in an HR staff? Does the company even have an HR staff currently?
I'm not positive about the HR staff position. I do know that the owner himself does do, it's not really like a formal coaching, but they do have informal like weekly meetings with their teams. So I imagine that the business owner, he could do like monthly because they are seasonal business instead of like a yearly kind of review. So I did imagine the owner himself.
Nice. Thank you for answering that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that was my last question. You guys have any others? All right, Laura, that's it for us.
All right. Thanks, Emily. Our next student presenter will be Katherine Berry. Katherine was also a senior this past year and just graduated in May from Colby College in Waterville, Maine, where she got a degree in environmental policy. She's originally from Connecticut, and in the spring she focused on businesses within the food system, all throughout the supply chain, producers, growers, retailers. And it's probably also not surprising to hear that she would like to pursue a career in sustainable food systems in some aspect. And when I asked Katherine why she originally applied to U360, she said, quote, "I applied to the U360 program to have a better understanding of practical sustainability in business. I have taken countless classes in college about environmental economics or policy, but haven't had the opportunity to learn about how businesses approach and apply sustainable practices. The professional development portion of the program was also a unique pull to apply. And as a senior, I wanted all of the resources I could get to help me improve my professional presence before graduating." And today, Katherine will be presenting her action plan about a ski mountain in the Northeast on this hot June day.
Great, thank you, Laura. This ski mountain has been in operation since 1961 and currently offers 17 runs for all experience levels, 9 graded areas, 2 lifts, 2 terrain parks, and a tubing park. Employees working at the mountain range from 25 to 150 people, depending on the season. They offer full and half-day passes, night skiing passes, season passes, and rentals. At the base, the lodge has a microbrewery where they offer house-made craft beers and a variety of food. In the off-season, the mountain is open for running, hiking, mountain biking, live music, patio games, and other activities. The year-round activities at the mountain reduce the risk that comes with seasonal businesses. The variety of activities offered attracts a range of customers looking to experience the outdoors in a beautiful location. Management fosters positive relationships among employees by constantly being available and providing daily feedback and coaching. This carries into their high retention rate of employees and minimal workforce challenges, which is rare for a seasonal business. They also offer their space to be a hub for the community, hosting family nights, ski races, Halloween festivities, paint nights, and more. This mountain faces competition with other small independent ski mountains and 2 larger commercially owned mountains in the area. The 2 commercially owned mountains offer more trails, lifts, parks, and amenities, and are so well known that they can attract people throughout the state and even out of state. One smaller mountain in close range is another threat in particular because of the similarity in size, operation, and family appeal. As both mountains are about an hour from a major city, the mountains are competing for those commuters. It is important that this mountain attracts customers by being competitive in pricing, hosting events, and standing out with additional offerings, such as their tubing park. Climate change is affecting the duration and average precipitation of winters in the area. In the next 30 years, the length of the warm season will increase by 2 weeks, and average temperature in the region will increase by about 4 degrees Fahrenheit from the 1995 average. This directly impacts the ski season and the sustainability of mountain activities. Ski mountains will have to reduce their risk of closure by having measures in place where they are able to offer a full skiing experience, no matter the snowfall or temperature in a given season. Skiing is a lifetime sport, a family sport, and a winter experience that many in the Northeast have come to cherish. The unpredictability of future weather events impacts the mountain, its workers, the surrounding community, and those that call the slopes their home. Ski mountains require large amounts of energy to run daily operations in season, like running lifts, heating buildings, and snowmaking, especially in the east, where snowfall is less frequent. While this business reviews their energy usage a couple of times a year, an energy audit will help them to continuously assess, evaluate, and improve their energy use. It can be simple and affordable to monitor the business's energy through an online app or software they can purchase, and see energy savings that range from 5 to 30%. Saving energy cuts costs, can build capital and reserves, and builds a structure of efficient resource use that can be helpful in the future for the possibility of increasing artificial snowmaking to elongate their season against the warming winters. Solar is a reliable, cost-effective form of energy for this mountain. The state where the mountain is offers federal grants and tax credits, and the average payback period is just over 7 years. Energy costs in the area are increasing due to the rise in natural gas prices, as well as the transport of energy to that region. This is on top of an already higher than normal electricity bill due to winter temperatures. Utilizing solar energy reduces the risk of being susceptible to energy price volatility and ensures access to clean local energy. Solar energy does not contribute to air or water pollution, emits no greenhouse gases, and will decrease the environmental footprint of the mountain. As climate change starts to threaten winter months, many skiers fear its effects because of the strong connection that skiing fosters between humans and nature. With the addition of solar panels, this mountain can implement more environmental marketing and claim climate responsibility, attracting customers who want to support healthy and sustainable winters. A business plan will help the company prioritize their goals and feasible ways to reach them. Without a plan, there is no system for spending money, energy, or anticipating future needs. The Board of Trustees, along with other decision makers of the business, could meet to create an outline of a company's intended targets for the near and long term. This will enhance growth and prompts continuous conversation about opportunities in their company and the industry. A business plan can nearly double a business's chance of securing a loan, securing invested capital, or growing the business. With the ski industry constantly evolving and being at the will of the weather, having a business plan will create a platform that keeps the actions and investments of the company in check and simplify anticipation and adaptation to change. An updated website is a simple implementation that could increase exposure and revenue. Recent additions like night skiing, a tubing park, and summer recreation activities are specialty features that would help them stand out against the competition. Their small mountain competitor also offers night skiing and tubing, but those looking online for activities in the area will only see it publicized on the other mountain site. Having this content on the site increases their chances of being found on search engines and can make them more competitive. By including a full list of activities for both the summer and winter months, and having a standing page that lists the different prices of tickets, potential customers will be informed of the variety of experiences available. Hiring a freelance website designer could pay for itself in a month if during that time, the mountain increased their average number of customers by less than 0.01%. With so much competition surrounding this ski mountain, it is important to attract new customers and maintain existing customers. though it would be difficult to entice families who already have a legacy at another mountain. College students and young adults, originally from out of state, who are just being introduced to the local ski world are a good target customer. In 2016, the state's largest public college increased their out-of-state population by over 54%. With one college located 15 minutes away, 3 colleges a half hour away, and a couple just over an hour, this mountain is situated for a great weekend or even weekday ski. Events like college discount days, utilizing the brewery and craft beer for of-age college mixers, or night skiing promotions will attract the current and future generations. As over 78% of millennials prioritize experiences over other products, and Gen Z has been found to be even more frugal and experience-focused. These new customers could develop ties with the mountain, the atmosphere, and continue their business more regularly. I recommend this company prioritize creating a business plan and conducting an update to their website. A business plan is important to unify the goals and strategies needed to sustain their business. It can decrease their risk against threats like competition and climate change by preparing for and mapping out the direction of their company and industry. An updated website can be an affordable and vital addition for the business. It will increase online traffic that can translate to more customers and more revenue. With all the activities and offerings available on the website, bringing skiers and outdoor enthusiasts alike to the mountain, they can invest the extra money into projects like buying solar panels. These improvements can help the ski mountain develop and maintain competitive advantage and put them in a position where they are equipped to handle the unpredictability of a changing climate. Thank you.
Great job. I really just have one question, and I think you made 2 really solid decisions in terms of which recommendations to pursue, but they both seem like, well, the website seems like it could be relatively inexpensive, but the business plan could be expensive. Did you have a conversation with the business owner about sort of the level of investment they were able to make, and are both these recommendations from a financial perspective feasible?
So I think from a financial perspective, they're both pretty feasible. I think that from my research, I found that a business plan can cost range from like $1,000 to $5,000 because it's mostly just expending time for board members and other people in positions like that. I was not able to ask the owner, sadly, about what they have right now, but on a couple of different sources that I found online, I found new changes that they've been making. So I could see that they are making changes and moving forward with decisions, but that when I was interviewing them, they didn't have a business plan. So I thought that was a little bit problematic and that it would be a really great resource for them to develop this business plan. And in terms of updating the website, since they already have an existing website, my research showed that it would also be around $1,000 to $5,000 to hire a freelance website designer. And since they already have something existing, I kind of pinballed it in the middle and assumed that it would be about $2,500 for that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Katherine, great presentation. Are you a skier or snowboarder yourself?
Yes, I love skiing.
Oh, cool. I thought so, but I didn't want to assume. So one of the questions I have for you is, because 2 of your recommendations, the updating the website and then attracting Gen Z and millennials and it really expanding the customer base there. Mm-hmm. Did you consider the connection that those 2 would have together and how that might impact the approach that they would have to updating their website?
Yes, definitely. I think that Gen Z and millennials are also in this day and age going more towards apps and online resources in order to look at these things. So they're usually just putting in Google tubing near me and that things would pop up. And because of a non-updated website, that that wouldn't work that well. So also just really with the updated website, it would also target millennials and Gen Z, because all of the things that are offered on the mountain are really experience focused. And a lot of the summer activities like hiking or not skiing or running are free to anybody. So just trying to bring in those kinds of consumers, even in the off season, would probably translate to more customers during the skiing season. Sorry.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation. I kind of had my question was building on y'all's as well, where it's you have this whole story you're telling where you're kind of saying we need to rebrand this business. And I definitely see how all your recommendations are like telling this story of trying to remarket as like a place for young people. And we have the brewery. And so I was just curious, like kind of going back to that website, attract young people, business plan, energy audit, right? It seems like you're trying to rebrand the mountain almost. And I was just curious if you could elaborate a little bit on how all your points kind of connected, and if you were going for this almost of a rebranding of the mountain, because it seems like they are all connected and targeting a specifically young and Gen Z audience. So I was just curious if you had something a little underlying that you imagined happening for this mountain, or if there's like I feel like there's a bigger picture you haven't quite fully given us, you know, like I can imagine your vision. It's like right there. And I just wanted to see if you could elaborate a little on that.
Definitely. So I think because this is a small, kind of more local ski, as I said, and there are two larger commercially owned ski locations in the area, that this location already attracts the surrounding population with families and kids, because people want a good deal and it's easy, and it's not this whole big day trip of traveling 2 hours with kids, because that can obviously be cumbersome. So I think that they already have the attraction to a lot of the surrounding areas, but particularly in the major city where there are a lot of millennials and Gen Zs who are right now ages, I think it's 38 all the way down to 18 or so. They're kind of the up and coming generation. So targeting them, I think, will help the sustainability of this mountain. And also in particularly for, as Laura mentioned when she was talking earlier, Gen Z and millennials are kind of the climate change generation. So this is much more of a prevalent issue. So I think installing the solar panels will also get more of those customers, not only millennials and Gen Zs, but the families who really want to contribute in a positive way and have a positive skiing experience and feel good about what they're doing.
Thank you so much for that, because that definitely helps put the whole picture together for me, because your prioritized recommendation or your main threat of competition is all of your recommendations made this business seem like it was just on par with the competition now, but you elaborating on this bigger picture, this idea of rebranding, shows how your business plan will actually take them beyond their competition. And I think that that's really important that you highlight how your recommendations not only make them equal to the competition, but push them to that next level. So I really appreciate you like stringing all those dots together, but definitely don't be afraid to tell that story that you're trying to tell.
Yeah, great. Thank you for the recommendation.
Thank you so much. That's all my questions, Laura.
All right. Thank you, Katherine, for that. And last but certainly not least, our final student presenter today will be Tom Dolloff. And Tom also just graduated from college. This is my team of all seniors. He just graduated from the University of Southern Maine as well, with a degree in sustainable business. He's originally from Sebago, Maine, and this spring he focused on businesses in the entertainment industry, which, as you can all probably appreciate, was one of the harder hit by the pandemic. So that was certainly made things a little bit interesting towards the end of the semester. And now that Tom has graduated, he is hoping to pursue a career in consulting, analytics, or entrepreneurship. And when I asked Tom why he originally applied for U360, he said that he chose to apply for the experience based on advice from an advisor, as well as the clear alignment with his major. He wanted to get firsthand experience to what business sustainability can look like. And he also felt that the capstone presentation would develop his skill to get him into the consulting field. And so without further ado, here is that action plan that he was talking about way back when. And today, Tom will be presenting about a musical theater company in the Midwest.
Thank you, Laura. This theater is a nonprofit organization which has been in business for 60 years. Located in a historical district of a mid-sized city with 4 other theaters nearby. It has been a mainstay in the community throughout its history with various evolutions. It has grown from impromptu performances in coffee shops to an internationally recognized off-Broadway group. There are 25 to 30 employees, depending on the stage of production, but they hire around 200 annually through actors. They host approximately 30,000 people each year through 5 to 7 annual productions. Their focus is on diversity of programming. They have shows varying from operas to classical musicals, as well as contemporary pieces. It's a financially sound organization with a strong focus on business feasibility along with checks and balances. Community involvement is done through ticket giveaways, educational opportunities for school as well. Employee creativity is well utilized as they are in the business of creativity. This is shown by their ability to bring their productions to life and innovating their administration. The coronavirus has impacted all of us, personally and professionally. This theater is no different as it's temporarily shut down. Entertainment will be one of the last areas of the economy to reopen because it isn't essential. There is also the threat of delayed recovery with a recession as theater attendance is discretionary spending. Current reopening procedures in the city are too limiting, with 25% seating to have profitable shows. Actors also run the risk of spreading respiratory droplets, the prime carrier of the virus, up to 27 feet. Changes in consumer behavior is my long-term challenge, as it puts the theater at risk of maintaining audiences. Young people don't attend as much as older patrons. People under the age of 25 represent only 7.7% of the industry's revenue. That same group is about 34% in the movie theater industry. The city has a median age of 32 and is getting younger. The people that have been attending for the last 60 years won't be around for the next 60, so youth will be essential for its legacy. The coronavirus has forced businesses to pivot to stay afloat. Currently, the theater has a concert stream to promote donations. They're also planning their first virtual musical later this summer, which will be done over Zoom and presented like a film. I recommend the theater live streams a performance with a focus on supporting COVID-19 relief. This will give audiences in the moment feeling that only theaters can deliver over other mediums. While still allowing the theater to gain revenue, which makes up about a third of its annual funding, 50% of the profits would go towards COVID-19 relief statewide. This would aid groups working in food, housing, medical services, mental health, and education, and then be promoted in these groups across the state, which will pull a wider audience and donation pool. This would be done remotely to keep actors safe. The stream would then be presented on the theater's website with a pay-what-you-can donation wall to encourage support. This live stream would develop goodwill and brand value for the organization, as well as expand on their patron base, along with connecting to youth by presenting in an accessible medium. Young people have a variety of cheap entertainment available, making theater appear inaccessible and unrelatable. This theater does have programs working with school-age children and offers student discounts, but current programming is often aimed towards older demographics. The theater should create an original performance using college talent. Research has shown young people are less attracted to theater because it often tells outdated and unrelatable tales. There's also the peer aspect, where attendees want an audience they can connect with. By having a performance by young people for young people, the organization addresses both of these barriers. Once these barriers are overcome, the field of theater becomes much more enticing. Young patrons can get familiar and understand the art form to develop an appreciation. There are 4 colleges with theater programs within the city alone, and 15 in the state, providing a sizable talent pool. The students would be paid for their time like an intern, while they have the opportunity to work on a professional stage. Theater staff could help organize and promote the performance, as well as develop an understanding for the demographic. Tickets would be discounted to account for reduced costs, and it would be promoted on campuses as well as college hotspots like coffee shops and bars, allowing the organization to develop its younger patron base. Young consumers value sustainable brands. 71% of millennials want companies to be environmentally friendly. This organization has a weakness in waste management when it comes to the scenic elements which are discarded after production. To address this, the theater should spearhead a prop swap program with the 4 other theater groups in the city. This would allow for some scenic elements and other props to be reused across town and repurposed instead of ending up in a landfill. It would function like a library, using all of the theater's props to be borrowed if available. This theater already has prop rental, so the logistics of it would be relatively simple, while improving the theater environment for the whole city. Labor would be reduced for making props as well. Even if this only saves a day of labor for their 3-person team, it would save approximately $360. Material savings of 1% would save $2,000 annually. The setup would be done by an intern who would gather the inventory of the theater and compile them into a single source. Promotion of the program would be on the website using social media, local news, and as well as other sources, which would appear to younger audiences and on top of the significant cost savings. The theater is an old building and the organization doesn't monitor energy usage, but there's a gradual change towards LED lighting, which is very energy efficient. These make a great combination to conduct an energy audit. Energy audits are conducted by an energy efficiency company in the local area. They see where energy is being used and where it can be more efficient. The cost is dependent on the depth and breadth of the assessment, with more cost placed on the level of detail to improve it. Once complete, recommendations are given to improve efficiency as well as sold at a discounted rate due to government incentives. Similar theaters have been recommended options like LED lighting, conversion, ventilation ceiling, motion lighting, ceiling installation, and many more. The energy savings of implementing the audit could save them between 5 to 30% of their energy bill based on the investment. These changes could then be promoted online and through its messaging to promote its environmental stewardship. This would attract environmentally minded young people by showing them their reduced footprint along with cutting costs. Currently, the theater has no formal review process and little focus on internal development. I recommend this theater begins a formal review process for its full-time staff to move past its conversational approach. Research on over 1,500 firms has shown a positive correlation between firm performance and utilizing evaluations. Theater is a very personal environment, and employees need to be accountable and guided to grow. By keeping track of how they are doing annually, management can foster upward mobility amongst high performers and develop stronger relationships. This allows employees and management to plan by setting goals and seeing progress, creating greater engagement in work and improving resiliency. It improves the work environment, which is essential in theater, so actors and staff have shared goals. I see the college partnership to be one of the prioritized recommendations because it will allow the theater to best address the problem with changes in young consumer behavior. By reducing the barriers of attendance and exposing them to the stage, it'll create stronger connection to the community and improve brand value. The energy audit would be a feasible undertaking that could be used to save money and improve energy stewardship, following up with a promotion to appeal to sustainability-minded younger audiences. The impact of the coronavirus will be lasting on the organization, so it is best that they adapt and be prepared with these various tools. The acceleration of business trends has also highlighted the need to get young audiences on board so they are engaged in their prime spending years. Planning for the future is key to sustainability so their art can imitate life. Thank you.
Great job, Tom.
Thank
you. So in weighing when you're trying to decide between doing the college production and the live stream performance, my first question is, would the college production also be live stream?
So I'm thinking the college production would be more of an annual thing moving forward. So it'd be each year they'd be doing that as a means to like get college engagement year after year as people graduate and move. Whereas the live stream would just be for this. So that'd be more of a short-term goal and recommendation, which is why I chose having the energy audit and the college production. So I get one that was short-term and one that was long-term.
Great. I'm just wondering about sort of the immediate needs of the theater in terms of increasing revenue in a time where that's really hard to do. Have you thought about doing, for the college production, what would that revenue stream look like? Would it all be ticket sales, or are you looking at sponsorship, business sponsorships too?
I think it would actually be more towards ticket sales. I say that because the cost of that production would probably be much, much lower compared to one of the professional productions, because college students wouldn't be paid at a guild actor's rate. So the guild actor at a minimum for a 3-hour performance is about $250. Whereas a college intern, say they're getting paid 20 bucks an hour, that's like $60. I know that wouldn't necessarily count for all of the cost reduction, but essentially I would look at increased ticket sales because they're appealing to all these college students and they're promoting to them. So pulling them in at a somewhat discounted rate, but also their cost of production would be significantly lower.
Yeah, I think that rationale is really, really helpful and strong. Thank you.
Hi, Tom. Fantastic presentation. Really enjoyed it. Really cool industry to be looking at. To piggyback off of a little bit what Leah was asking, and the way of, or the priority to engage a younger demographic, particularly creating this college level production piece of the theater. Curious how, knowing that the effects of COVID do and are going to affect college students, how did that play into your consideration? Do you see this actually making it more challenging to engage the students at the college level, or increase the availability of college students? And I think part of it is the location of the theater and whether or not students are primarily from around the area, or that they won't be returning to an on-campus, so there might not be as many in the area.
Thank you. That's a great question. In all reality, when I was first coming up with this recommendation, I was thinking further out. So most likely the planning for this project would probably take about a year or so just to develop relationships within these universities. However, if this were to be done, say for this upcoming season, there'd still be some level of restrictions as well as less college students simply in the area. I think definitely moving forward, this is going to be the year of the gap year. So college students are simply going to be in lower attendance nationwide. But that being said, I think it could still be done in a virtual format, but that may be more challenging considering the level of connections needed to sort of coach students through this sort of process, as well as it being the first time they're doing it. So I think for the upcoming year, this would be more the planning process and developing relationships with these universities.
Thank you. And the second question I have is about streaming and again, playing into those audiences. And from your research, if you looked into if streaming would actually, be more attractive to younger audiences and still be able to engage traditional older audiences, or, what kind of the tech piece would imply on the attraction to various audiences?
I think naturally younger people are more likely to be aware of streaming websites, whereas older demographics are less aware. However, take that with a grain of salt, as everyone's different. It's a generalization. But the audiences they do have are familiar with their website. Their current concert stream is actually a big fundraising tool for them right now. So I think their fan base is familiar with their online presence, so they're still likely to be using that for such a live stream. And then the promotion of that live stream can be done on platforms which are more appealing and what young people would be aware of. So I think it would go hand in hand, where the website, older demographics or their traditional audience would already be aware of, and then the promotion of it would connect to younger audiences who then would be able to access it easily.
Thank you.
Tom, great presentation. You had some really unique recommendations. I definitely enjoyed listening to it. But I do have to harp on one thing. So you are definitely unique in that your main threat was Corona. And you definitely made a point to list that it was a big issue up front. However, both of your prioritized recommendations don't directly address Corona. So I was curious if you could just explain the logic a little bit further.
Thank you, Max. I knew you were going to bring this up. So I did this mostly because that same reason of, I think this theater, while the coronavirus is a significant threat to them, it's not going to cripple them moving forward, but make it very difficult to operate for the next year or so. So I wanted to create recommendations which would allow them to be more sustainable moving forward. And that is why I didn't pitch the live stream as one of my prioritized recommendations because it would be somewhat of a less challenging undertaking. And whereas like the energy audit, that's more long-term, and then the college production would take some time, but it'd be more medium term. If I could have 3 prioritized recommendations, I definitely would have. But the live stream was more of a short-term, get awareness out there, be involved in the community, and make those connections. But if I had the option to do 3, it definitely would have been there.
Nice, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Definitely helps me understand your logic a little better. And then my only other question for you had to do with the energy audit. So you mentioned the energy audit is kind of as in depth as the business decides to go. And you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation that this is a well-funded nonprofit organization. But I was just curious, does this nonprofit, are they situated to spend money to actually make some of the changes that would occur from an energy audit? Did you see them being able to put the money in at such an uncertain time with COVID and revenue being so weak? So I was just curious how you imagined them actually utilizing that audit to be able to market themselves as this sustainable place to get that younger audience.
Thank you, Max. So I don't know what their current financial situation is. However, I have thoroughly been reviewing their tax documents that they have to publish as a 501(c)(3). So they did have up to 90 days of cash available on hand for costs moving forward. So I don't know if that'd be the case right now, but because of the donation stream that they're receiving, as well as the fact that they're not doing performances, which does reduce revenue as well as reducing costs, they've also canceled their 2 shows for the rest of the season, so they don't have to go into contracts with actors. So I think they're kind of at a state of limbo when it comes to their finances. So I don't think this would be something they'd be investing in right now, but be something they might be planning to move forward into. Essentially, those 4 recommendations I had after the live stream were in the sense of once coronavirus was no longer directly impacting their business. But now that we've been 3 months into it, it's kind of hard to see a world where that's not the case. So I think they definitely could have the investment to do so. And realistically, the audit itself would be under $3,000 based on local energy efficiency companies, but it can vary as well, depending on the complexity of the business. So a similar theater would cost between $18,000 to $3,000, which I do see them having on hand, but maybe not likely to spend due to sort of the bureaucracy of the board of directors or their budget.
Gotcha, but you are saying they could do something like the energy audit now and then make those decisions further down the road?
Yes.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, thank you for that. That was my last question. Thanks so much, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was our last presentation for day 2. And I just want to take a second to have all the students come back so we can give them a big round of applause. So for those of us on the back end that can unmute ourselves, we can actually applause. If you want, if you feel so inspired to use the chat to cheer on these 4, excellent presentations that we just saw, that would be great. So give you all a big, all right. Yeah, you all, yes, did a fantastic job. And thank you so much to our 3 judges. You all did an excellent job too. And I do not envy what you're about to do at all. I'm sure this is gonna be an incredibly hard decision. I'm glad I don't have to make it. So thank you to everybody who joined us from the audience. And I just wanted to mention a couple of little closing points that we'll be announcing the winner from today's presentations tomorrow at our reception in Zoom in this virtual space from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. I have to say that now that we're virtual because people could be coming in from all over. So 4 to 5 o'clock tomorrow. And Chris my colleague will be adding that link to the chat box right now if you haven't yet registered for that event. It is a separate event from this competition, so the link you use today won't get you into the reception, so you do have to register separately, and I hope many of you will be able to join us as we name our 3 next generation scholars for 2020. And at this time, the 3 judges are going to be leaving us and going to a private space to deliberate and make this decision, and then all the rest of us will be staying in this here, myself and the students. If any of you in the audience would like to talk with any of us or ask your questions, since you've been watching this whole time, and we can enable your audio and video if you would like to be able to do that. So thank you again. Another huge round of applause to all of our presenters and judges. Thank you all for being here, and we hope to see you soon. Bye, judges.
Guys.
Okay. So yeah, we'll see if any of the audience would like to join us and